Hello world, Stephen Michael Zach here, and today we're taking a look at some brand new accoutrement that just came out for the Anglerfish series lights. Now I have the SL-01 60DN here, which is the daylight only 60 watt model, and Ifootage sent over. First off, we have the 6FPM Fresnel. Now this is the mini Bowens mount to go with the mini Bowens mount on my device there, but they do make a full Bowens mount as well of this one. Next, we have the 3.2 mini Bowens 15 to 50 degree intensifier. And lastly, we have the LC-01. This is their brand new V-mount clamp to go on your light stand. Now, the good folks at Ifootage did send these over to me for my review. However, these are going to be my own brutal and honest opinions as always. So let's take a look at what comes inside the boxes. My own brutal and honest opinions as always. This is new to me. Okay, so inside the Fresnel, you're going to get the instructions and some stickers and warranty stuff, a piece of foam, and you're going to get just this kind of like piece of foam here. There is no case included, and you will have to really dig your fingers in to get this out, but that's it. Next, let's take a look at the Intensifier. Again, you're going to get all your warranty instructions and stuff, and the Fresnel itself. And finally, we have the clamp here. Now you do get instructions and all that fun stuff. You get the clamp itself. You get an Allen wrench here, which is always nice when they include that. And then you get this extra piece here. Now, this is for if you're not going to use this with a V-mount battery. You could actually attach this to something else, say like your like wireless system, and then this will just clamp into here with your wireless system attached. So again, very cool that they include this. Many uses for something like this besides just mounting a V-mount. And again, it does look like it has kind of the RE pins here that are spring-loaded. So very cool that they include this little piece. Okay, so let's take a look at build quality now. Let's start off with the Fresnel here. It is made fairly well. Again, the part that you turn, the plastic does feel, it feels better here, but when it's in full flood here, still feels a little bit like if I smashed it down hard on a table, it might crack. Other than that, feels pretty well made. Now let's go ahead and attach it to the light. And here it is attached to the light, and as you can see, it actually kind of droops down a little bit. It is not tight at all, so it is drooping a little bit, so you will most likely have to kind of tilt this back a little bit. Also, it is kind of heavy, so it does pull down on the actual, it does pull down on the light itself. So that is something to note, the droopiness and the fact that it does pull down. Now let's talk about the Intensifier. Again, it seems to be made fairly well. Again, when you kind of spot this out, when you kind of roll this out, again, this feels like if I slam it down hard on a table, it'll break. But it doesn't feel too bad. It's pretty functional. And finally, the mount feels very fantastic. I really love how fast this is to use. So there you go. There you have it. Everything feels pretty premium on this. Okay, so here we are with the dish, and let's take a look at beam angle. So just to give you an idea, here's the two edges of the of my window plugs here, and as you can see, the beam does have a little bit, and I'll try to get around so you can see it. The beam does have a little bit of a fall off and a little bit of a strange, like kind of curving kind of edges there. You can't really see them on camera, but it does have a little bit of a strange fall off. That is due to the faceted dish. And again, there is a hot spot, but all in all, not bad. Now let's go ahead and slap on the mini Intensifier. And here we are with the mini Intensifier. And again, as you can see in the corners, and I'll actually step out of the way, in the corners there is a little bit of discoloration happening, very much. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there is some rainbowing here, and then there is some ringed fall off there. And here's what the beam looks like. It is an okay beam, not the most even beam I've seen. And as you can see, it is not that much smaller than the dish. The dish maybe came to about here. This is slightly smaller. Now let's go ahead and go into flood. And this thing is going to flood down. Again, you can see a little bit of rainbowing around the hot spot. And again, it looks to be like there's a little bit of fall off here coming from out the back, but that is the beam in spot. Now here we are with the Fresnel, the big guy, and I'm going to kind of do that because it is sagging on the mount a bit. And let's go ahead to full flood here. And again, this is much smaller. So you have the dish here, you have the beam about here, and then you have the flood ending here. Again, there is some kind of fall off here. And I'll go ahead and move the beam around. And again, you are, as you can see, getting some kind of like strange ringing. I'm not sure if that's coming from the back element or whether that's just the edge of the Fresnel itself, but you're getting some very odd ringing. I don't know if you'll be going to be able to see that on camera, but we'll try to show that to you. Now let's go to full spot here. And again, you get just like this nice hot spot, and then you get some fall off, and then you start getting some more rings around the edges here. So there you go. Now when I tested this against the aperture did not have rings like this, did not ring off like this. So that is just something indicative of these lights. Okay, so here we are with the barn doors and the grid, and this is how much it cuts. As you can see, not really great at cutting. We'll open this up. Really, the barn doors are for controlling the spill. So there you go. There you have it. And again, here are the barn doors with no grid in. And again, not great for cutting at all. There you go. There you have it. That is kind of what you're getting. Also, I will say that I really had to crank this light because, as you can see, with the barn doors on and the mini Bowens Fresnel, this thing is super duper heavy, way too heavy. Okay, and here is the intensifier, and we'll go to full flood here on the intensifier. And there we are at full flood, and let's go ahead and try to cut the lights. And as you see, this does a little bit better than its larger predecessor. We can go in here, but it still gets okay cuts. Not terrible, but not the best. Really, these are just for shaping. And let's try to get as small a beam as we possibly can here. And there you go. That's about the extent of the cuts. Okay, so let's talk about the mini intensifier. Now we're going to start off comparing it to the dish. Now, when I took my readings, and I did redo this whole review because I got different readings. When I did the review with the bare light at 100%, with the dish, I got 13,300 lux. Now, with the intensifier at full flood, I only got 9,600. So this is not intensifying as much as this is. Now, I will say that while this beam was only slightly smaller, was slightly more was slightly tighter, not enough to really make a difference. So if you're really going for max brightness in a flood mode, I would definitely skip this and go with the included dish. Now, if you are looking to use the intensifier in a spot mode, this thing spots very well. I got a spot of 58,800. Of course, the spot was really tight. And again, you could see from the photos that there is a lot of overspill and a lot of ringing out towards the edges. So that is just something to know that you can get a really tight spot with this. With some ringing out. But yeah, in spot worked well, in flood, stick with the dish. This size is really not a difference. And finally, let's talk about the Fresnel in full spot. This thing was massive at 112,000 lux. At spot, this thing was super duper bright. Now, I will say that you may need to pull this back a little bit if you're shooting through something, which means you're going to lose a little bit of this intensity, but it's not going to equal what these are. So you are fine there. So there you go. There you have it. Now, I did find these lights generally off a bit when it came to color correction. Most of these were slightly green across the board. The worst being the dish at 0.07 green, which means the light is off by 0.07 green. And when the Fresnel was in full flood, you were getting that full 0.7 green. And again, on this light, because it's a daylight light, there is no way to adjust for color correction. So while 0.07 is not bad, and the delta UV I think was minus 0.0015. While that's not terrible, you still could use a correction gel, but most of these were either negative 0.008 or below when it came to the delta UV. So not bad. You may need to correct this light a little bit as it is not very spot on. Now let's talk pros and cons, and let's first start off with both Intensifier and Fresnel. Again, these are very, very plasticky. They feel very plasticky. They have a little bit of rattle in them. But they seem okay. Just be very careful. Don't slam them down hard on a table. They could crack and break. The second thing is there are no cases with these. I would have really loved to, especially for the bit larger one, had a case that this would go into, because the foam that you have to put this into, you have to like sink your fingers into the foam, and you're going to end up destroying your foam. So really wish cases came with them. And there you go. Now let's talk about how the Fresnel fits on, and I did show you this earlier, but I want to go into a little bit more of detail here. Not only does it pull the light straight down because it's too heavy, so I really have to over crank this, but it's so loose that it's actually tipping forward. So I don't know how accurate the beam is unless I hold it here. So that is a point of contention. Also, because the release, and I said this in my review on this light, it's right there. You can go check it out because I did review this light a while back ago. I really hate the fact that the release is down here, because somebody's going to look at this and think, oh, it's one of those that just twist off, because they do make those. And somebody's going to try to twist this off and break it without reaching under and releasing it. So, because most people are used to either a release on the top or on the side, this is very well hidden. So that might be a problem if you're going to rent this out or let somebody borrow it, somebody who doesn't know this light. They may just try to rip this off. So that is definitely a negative. And then the next negative, let's talk about the Intensifier. Like I said, the Intensifier, when it's in full flood, is not as bright as using the dish. When it's in spot, it works. And my understanding of Fresnels, I'm not a Fresnel expert in any way, but I was under the impression that the Fresnels, when you add a Fresnel, it's supposed to be brighter than the actual included dish. It's supposed to give you more brightness, and this just does not. So that is definitely a negative. Okay, so let's talk about the barn doors. Now, I will say, while the Intensifier barn doors are very well made, and I love the fact that it has these flags, it does cut okay for what it is. Really, these flags are just for shaping the light. It does cut it a little bit better than its larger version. And again, I do like these flags. It is made of plastic. It is friction built, so I don't know how long this is going to last because it is plastic. And these could probably wear out over time. And let's talk about the larger barn door here. I am not a fan of these barn doors. These are very cheap, very much like your basic Godox ones. While they're well made, while they have little slots and magnets so you can put in a gel holder, while you do get this honeycomb grid, which is very difficult to get out of this one. Again, this is really for shaping the light. It does not cut the light very well at all. And again, I'm not a fan of these little rickety things. This actually feels like I'm going to snap this off at some point. Not very strong at all. Not a fan of this. But other than that, it works okay. Now let's talk about this clamp. While it's very well made, one size fits most. As you can see from this video, this clamp did not fit on my light stand. I kind of had to put it on the stand and sort of let the rubber kind of stop it at an angle. So again, I wish there was this was a little bit tighter, or they maybe gave me different kinds of inserts here that I could put in for if I have a smaller light stand. But it should work for your most basic light stand. I was just using like a cheap off-the-rack one, and on those, not so great. But if you have a C-stand or combo stand, this should be fine. Okay, now from the cons to the pros, I'm going to start off with this because I absolutely love this thing. It is very, very quick to just open up, flip open, slap on something, close it in. close it in here pretty quick. I was actually able to do it with one hand. It has a very, very long thread, so yes, I can thread it around something as ridiculous as this. And there you go, Bob's your uncle. Pretty solid. Really like the clamp. Again, it did not work for some of the cheaper, smaller light stands. But again, you're probably not going to use one of those with these. You're probably going to have a heavier light if you're going V-mount battery, and you're probably going to be using a bigger stand. Now, let's talk about the pros of the mini spotlight, and that really is when it gets to when you're in the spot mode, super, super bright, goes on really well. The only problem is in flood, it's just not as bright as the dish. So that is, there you go. That's how I feel about that. Let's talk about the Fresnel. The Fresnel works very, very well. Now, my recommendation is I would go for the Fresnel. I really wish that they had sent me the full Bowens Fresnel, then I would have tested it versus Aperture's Fresnel, but unfortunately this is the one I got, so that's what I have to review. I really like the Fresnel. I would definitely say skip the Intensifier and go for the Fresnel. True, you're going to have to pull this back a little bit, maybe to fill a little bit larger of a source, but again, it's not going to equal the size. The beam angle is not going to equal the size of these. I really do like the Fresnel. Again, I just wish it came with a case. So definitely skip the Intensifier, go with the Fresnel, and I really do love these clamps. They are pretty quick. You can actually clamp this on with one hand almost. So very, very cool. So those are my thoughts, but I want to know yours. So leave your questions and comments in the notes below. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to mash that bell button to be notified when we drop a brand new video. And feel free to use the links as it helps out the channel, and please join our brand new mailing list. I'm Stephen Michael Zach, and these are new to me.